What is a Nevis LLC, and how does the Nevis LLC play a part in asset protection? Well, a Nevis LLC is like any other domestic LLC, except that it's established under the statutes and the jurisdiction of Nevis, West Indies. Nevis enacted an LLC statute, I think back in 1995 or 97, where they became the first foreign jurisdiction to have an effective LLC statute. And they have a managers and they have LLC interests. Really it's an LLC like any domestic LLC in the way it's structured and the LLC operating agreement. The benefit of the Nevis LLC is that the LLC interests are issued by a foreign entity, and the LLC could also be managed by a foreign entity, or it could be managed by you. And the theory of the protection is that if there's a creditor action against you in the United States to collect a civil judgment, that in order for the creditor to obtain a charging order against your LLC, they would have to serve the LLC, and of course the LLC is not in the U.S. And secondly, a theoretical benefit is that the creditor would have to go to Nevis West Indies jurisdiction to obtain a charging lien or a charging order against distributions of money from the Nevis LLC. This we found that in practice doesn't work as well as advertised. And the reason is that there are states in the U.S., Florida is one state and there's some others, that have taken the position through the courts that even though the LLC interest has been issued by a foreign LLC, and even if it has a foreign manager, that the LLC membership interest is located with the debtor, not in Nevis. So that if you have a debtor residing in Florida, Georgia, any other, most other states, that the domestic courts in that state will exercise jurisdiction over the LLC interest and charge the distributions and put a lien on the interest by finding a ruling that the LLC interest is not in Nevis where it was located, but is actually where the debtor is residing in the United States. So that doesn't mean that the Nevis LLC is not beneficial in an asset protection plan, but the way we do it is, and say many other experienced practitioners, is that they will form a Nevis LLC and then have the LLC interest not owned by the individual debtor, but owned instead by an offshore asset protection trust. In that case, there's no argument that the interests are owned and held in the U.S. with the debtor, because they're not owned by the debtor. The member of the Nevis LLC is the asset protection trust. So then the question is, well, why do we need a Nevis LLC? Why don't we just have our assets owned by the trust? The reason for the Nevis LLC is that the LLC is a good operating entity to operate a business or to actively manage investments, maybe sometimes to own a business, because the management of the business or operation, investments of the assets is controlled by the LLC manager. And that way, you as a debtor client could appoint yourself as manager or co-manager of the Nevis LLC and retain day-to-day operational control over your assets. So it is much easier to control a business or investments day to day by managing an LLC than it is to have the assets owned and titled by an offshore trustee, because probably don't want an offshore trustee with management control over your domestic operating business or over your day or weekly management of assets. So the Nevis LLC plays a part by taking title to assets or LLC interest, appointing yourself in a position where you control the LLC, and then having the LLC interest owned by the trustee, so the offshore trustee of a Cook Islands or other foreign trust is in a passive position. They're just sitting with title to LLC interest, but they're not really directly involved or don't have to be involved in active management of a business or financial investments. So a very common asset protection structure then is to utilize a Nevis LLC to have title to operating businesses or investment operations, and then add on the offshore trustee to take title to the LLC interest and therefore avoid any U.S. court attacking the LLC interest by a charging lien on any distributions.